Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone. Wait.
I can't take him anywhere. Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, and to another book review. So I think you guys can tell from my little friend here that today we're going to be talking about The Modern Prometheus, an existential body horror novel by Jason Robert Ducharme. I hope I'm saying that right. So guys, I first heard about this author and heard about this book over on M's Book Nook. Yes, Emily Terry. If you guys don't know who she is, what are you doing with your life? Go and subscribe. She is amazing. She is the sweetest soul that you will ever meet. She has an amazing family and an amazing channel. So I will link her down below, of course. And it just so happens that not long after I saw her review, the book went up for free. Kindle edition. So I was like, hell yes, because Emily and I have very similar tastes in a lot of ways. And I was like, she loved this, I'm gonna jump on it. And I am so glad I did. I will tell you guys very, very truthfully, I was kind of concerned because I remember reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein way back when. I want to say probably high school. And it was all right, I thought it was kind of cool that a young girl wrote it. But I feel like that the overarching tone or the message was lost on teenage packs. So, I was kind of hesitant because I still had that whole idea like, it's Frankenstein. How much can you do with Frankenstein, Because it's this close to zombie for me, and I'm not a huge fan of zombie stuff. It's just because there's not a whole lot of variety. There's just not much you can do with it. At least that's what I thought. So I was kind of surprised that I saw the word existential in the title, because I was like, how existential are we gonna get here? Like it's a monster. What are we gonna do? Literally, guys, this book was such an amazing retelling of the idea that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein put forth. It was modern. It really pulled it into the modern day. You didn't get any of that boring stuff that sometimes people say happens when you read a classic Gothic novel. For me, that doesn't really happen. I enjoy them for what they are. But I know there's some of you out there that were like, Frankenstein? Come on. Because you just don't dig on Gothic novels or old literature. And that's cool. We all have our thing. But I'm here to tell you, if you're like me and you were thinking it's Frankenstein, I don't think, do it. Pick it up. It's worth it. Seriously. So the whole premise is very, very familiar, but in so many ways, it's drastically different because in this one, you really get in the head of your monster character, right? And he's humanized, which I know has been done. I know all of you are gonna be like, oh, it's been done, they humanize the monster because, he loves his creator, whatever. This is so different because you have so many layers to this monster. You have him as a son, you have him as a brother, you have him as a family man, you have him in his job even. There are so many layers to this. And, might I add, there are even some layers to the parts of the monster. Tell me you thought of that, because I didn't. I did not. Never in a million years did I think to go down the road of, where did your leg come from? For Frankenstein, because, he's pieced together, right? But this book did it. It did it. It even went down that road, which, again, humanizes the monster, right? It's not just this combination of parts. And, again, if you're like me, I like reading about the big questions of the universe, And this book tackled that as I figured it would because it's Frankenstein, but in such an amazing way, such an understated way, because I like reading about stuff like that. I love kicking around, why are we here? What's our purpose? Stuff like that. This book, of course, tackled what is life. What constitutes a life? Is a beating heart and neurons firing, is that a life or not? And this book definitely tackled that, but in such a way that even if you don't like reading about that kind of thing, I really don't think it's going to bother you, okay? It's really kind of understated. It's not in your face oh, we have to figure this out or the world's going to... No, it's not in your face. It's very understated. And there's this whole science element to it. So this whole science thing is just fascinating to me because it tackles that idea, and I know you guys have probably heard of this, about you get, a heart transplant and you start to get emotions from the person that you got the heart from. That's been done. I know you've seen it. I'm put in mind of that movie with Jessica Alba about her eyes. It might be called The Eye, I'm not sure. That whole thing where she could see what the person who donated the eyes, it's been years, but you guys know what I'm getting at. There's an element of that there, so if you like that, you know, and it really keeps you guessing. You don't know, is it the decomposition of the monster that's driving these antics? You know, is it his grief, his pain, his loss? Is it just, hey, he actually believes this shit and he's going for it? You don't know. And it's so beautiful the way it's woven together. And it has this element of tragedy that does harken back to the original Frankenstein's monster, if you guys remember that story, you know, about, you know, how your heart goes out to him. And there's an element of that there, and you know, as you're reading, this is not going to be a happy ending. You know it's not going to be a happy ending, but you can't look away. And some of the things that he does, you know, you understand it on like a human level, but then you're reminded, like, is he human? But some of the biggest parts that stood out to me were that there were some actions that he did, our monster, for lack of a better way to put it, just so I don't give you guys any spoilers. You know, some of his actions were so human. You completely understood his motivation, but then you got to watch as he descended, almost into madness. But you were never fully confident to call it that. You know, you were given all these clues like, oh, maybe it's the decomposition of his brain, you know, maybe it's this, maybe it's the grief, maybe it's depression, maybe it's this, but you're never really told. And for me, I came out on the other side thinking it was probably a combination of a lot of it, but this whole time you're watching this man just like spiraling towards this end. And really you get to this point like, okay, well, this is not going to end well, obviously. How many people is he going to take down with him? And oh my gosh, the tragedy of this story, it's so beautifully done, and it pays homage to the original in such a remarkable way. Oh my gosh, such a remarkable way. Because if you really sit down and pick apart Frankenstein, you know, it really tackles a lot of those big questions. But for this book, I was thinking like, okay, either it's going to be super heavy on the existential or it's not, and it's just going to kind of like fall flat. No, it walked that line beautifully. Beautifully. So please, if you're like me and you're hesitant, like, oh, I'm not really big on Frankenstein, do it. I really don't think you're going to be sorry. If you at all have any love for Frankenstein, you gotta read this. This is a must read. If you like Frankenstein, if that was like one of your favorites, buy it now. So guys, I know this was a little strange. I really didn't want to give you guys any spoilers. I feel like you kind of already have a gist of what you're getting into simply because of what it's based on, like the whole background with Frankenstein and stuff. But trust me, there are parts of this book you will not see coming. There are parts of this book that will make you think. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. It's so well done. It put me in mind, you guys know, when they remake shows or movies from your childhood and you sit down to watch it and you're like, okay, are they going to butcher it or is it going to be fantastic? And you know that feeling when it's really good? For me, it was like the last Ghostbusters movie, the Ghostbusters Afterlife. I loved that movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. I got the same feeling reading this that I did watching that Ghostbusters movie. I know that sounds nuts, but it was like, wow, such an amazing job. With this like base material, you made something that is its own thing, but yet keeps the spirit of what you were trying to allude back to. I hope that makes sense. I feel like you guys know what I'm saying. Anyway, guys, thank you for hanging out for another book review. And please, if you want another perspective, check out Emily's video on this book. She did an amazing job, as always. Please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. And until next time, bye for now.